Good morning, Mobile, and all of our friends across the Gulf Coast. We're glad you joined us again this morning at 8:30. Curtis, you're chuckling.
I am chuckling because it's Friday morning, man.
It is Friday morning, and we are here on the Echo Stop Live podcast. We're glad you joined us, but I've got a surprise for you.
What's the surprise? You are full of surprises every Friday morning.
I try to bring something different to the table,
What do you
but
have,
today
man?
we are not alone.
We're not? You sure?
I'm feeling like we have an amazing guest with us. How are you doing, Mr. Andy Gatewood?
I'm awesome. I don't know about amazing, but I'm awesome. Glad to be
Andy,
here.
he is a funny guy. At least he tries to be.
Absolutely.
We're keeping this real. But listen, we are continuing our series on voices in the community. And we could not think of a better voice that needed to be heard than somebody who not only is vested through their career and their job to the school system, but also professionally and personally to their mission to just make this a safer place. So when we talk about voices in the community, we're talking about those voices that have the greatest impact on how we move forward from where we are to a safer, better, more fruitful community that we all want, specifically one free of gun violence. And so we want to talk specifically about violence and how it affects the young generation, the youth in our community, and really where we go back. So I got a ton of questions. I know my good friend Curtis does. But before we do any of that, just introduce yourself to our amazing following here and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Good morning, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm Andy Gatewood. I'm the Director of Safety and Security for the Mobile County Public School System. I've been in that position for about 7 years now, but I was a resource officer before that. I have a total career with the school system for about 28 years. I had some time with the Mobile Police Department before that, and just so glad to be here to talk about the issues that we face, but not only that, to the positive that we bring to the table in this partnership. It was just so amazing. We actually have a physical partnership with the Gulf Coast Technology Center that I'm super proud of, and that has really helped us to do some amazing things. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, what excites us, and just to kind of give you the background that we've shared with our viewers over the past several months, is the purpose of this podcast. This type of a podcast from within a law enforcement entity, really to walk alongside the members and partners that we partner with in the community. You have a special opportunity today to sort of share the perspective and the voice. And we want our viewers, we want this show to be interactive, and we want voices in the community to not just be voices, but to be voices that are heard. And so, you said Director of Safety and Security, but I mean, specifically, what roles does that entail as far as what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I have now 14 resource officers that work for me on a daily basis. They're in the schools, developing relationships with the kids so that, as you say, the adage, you see something, say something. We want them to be comfortable with coming and giving us information. And not only that, but not only building relationships with the kids who are going to give us information, but with the kids that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. They're all relevant, they're all important, and what we've learned, as I think many communities have learned, is that I've heard you guys talk about the four corners, and I think one of the very important parts of that is the enforcement piece. However, we have to learn too that we can't arrest our way out of a lot of the problems that we have. So it's important that my staff are in the schools and developing those relationships and learning the students and learning the families and there's so many issues. I consider us fortunate. There's so many issues that we don't have to face that many families and many folks that we interact with every day are facing. So we have to remember that when we're dealing with young people and dealing with families and try our best to get them the help that we need. So my department works hand in hand, not only, of course, with law enforcement, but with our social services department. Mm-hmm. We have an amazing team of social workers and mental health professionals that we rely on to get the students and even staff members the help that they may need in dealing with certain issues. We've just rolled out a protocol I'm very proud of that has to do with behavioral threat assessment things. If a kid says something or is writes something on his notebook or whatever the case may be, we can analyze that now and say, here's instead of just if the kid needs to be suspended or needs to be disciplined and sent home, then that's certainly going to happen. But it goes deeper than that. We get students, if they need to be evaluated from one of the mental health institutions or one of the agencies or something like that, we do that as well. So it goes a lot deeper than just dealing with the bad kids and making sure that they're dealt with appropriately. Sure, we deal with the bad kids, but we try to make sure that they get before they come back to school that they are as fixed as they can be, so that they can be productive citizens.
I would tell you this, first of all, you guys have such an awesome responsibility in the school system. I always tell people that a school is no more than a city within a city, but it's smaller, right?
Sure.
You got 4 walls, and in those 4 walls, all the things that happen outside in the community happen inside those 4 walls.
Sure.
And you're having to process those things as they go. For 8 hours, you have those children, you have those young people. I'm going to call them young people.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You have those young people who most are very impressionable. Okay. But you have a chance to actually help mold them, help those families actually improve their lives. So I don't think enough credit is given to all the work that is done in our school systems, whether it's Mobile County or Baldwin County, all parts in between, all the work that happens inside of those 4 walls.
So I want to ask you something on these lines, because I know there's going to be some deep thought required here.
Are you saying that I
I'm
will not
saying
give you
you're
deep
the perfect guy for this. But I mean, I'm listening to this, and we're talking with Andy about safety and security. But the most common words that we're throwing into this conversation are behavior, social, mental. And so in the holistic approach that we have addressed Operation Echo Stop, the school system is mirroring that essentially.
Absolutely.
In the same thing. And how important is that relationship to not just what's happening in the school now, but when these students leave the school, to understand that there's resources, to have maybe a look at an issue that before it becomes an issue.
I said something earlier before we started the podcast, and that was I wanted us to think about the value of one. What does that mean to us? Is that sum greater or larger? It's one. And how important is that one to us when we think about the things that happen when that one is left behind, when that one does not feel the value being beyond just the one? Because typically that person who values them or devalues themselves tend to devalue others. I think that's what happens in our schools oftentimes, because oftentimes the one that creates the problem is the one. Okay, it's not the many, it's the one. But what do we do to address the concerns of that one who does not feel valued because maybe they're not excelling in education? Maybe they're having some conflict issues at home. What do we do to make sure that what's being shown in their behavior does not impact the rest of that sum?
Yeah, exactly. And and we, as the
Was
school
that deep
system,
enough for you?
that was deep.
That-
I hate to.
The only
hate
thing
to
you
even.
didn't bring out was Sir Robert Peel, but you were close. You were
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, I hate to even follow that. I got to be honest. No, but we, and you're right. We're a small community in itself. We have over 50,000 students every day, 7,000 employees. So and not only just exactly what you said, the things that happen in the community happen in the schools. Very, very rarely does something happen in a community where there's not a relative or a friend or a family member of some, whether it be a student or even a staff member who is affected by that. So, we have processes in place, again, through our mental health folks, and the resource officers are there every day to try to deal with these things and identify those that are affected. Again, that's where I think where the partnerships come in, and we value. Speaking of value of one, sometimes I look at one as not only just one person, but entire agencies. Our partnership with Mobile Police Department, Mobile Sheriff's, all the law enforcement agencies, but not only that, with Gulf Coast Technology Center and, again, the mental health facilities that we can identify and we can reach out to and share information that we can share to try to get the students identified that need the most help and just do that on a daily basis. Again, it's a daily necessity to every day. I always said, said that it's almost like the weather in Mobile. Every time I go to work every morning, you never really know what you're going to face. Which is kind of exciting to me. And some days you go, man, I just hope it's quiet today, and we can just kind of have that day, especially on Friday. But anyway, we know that it's necessary. Whatever happens, and the great part is, and I'm going to brag on some of the Gulf Coast technology staff, is there's one young man that in general and specifically, and I don't know if I can say his name or not, but I'm going to tell you, he is above and beyond. I can text him or call him. We've been on the phone at 3:00 in the morning, and he's helping and solving. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll find it. And can I say his name?
Well, absolutely.
Andre King. I'm the biggest fan. I got to be honest of Andre King in the room. I don't know.
We are always looking to give accolades, and this is a good segue for just a minute. If I can, just to break, we're going to come back and pick up where we left off. But I do want to remind our viewers to tune in every Friday at 8:30 to the Echo Stop Live podcast. That's where we are. We're on YouTube, also Facebook Live. But, you had mentioned sharing information. We have an anonymous tip line, and Andre is a big part of helping with this, and that's 844-251-0644. It's 844-251-0644. And building on what Curtis was asking, where he was talking about I want to take just a minute and share with you a public service announcement that was created here recently that actually involves two. And we're talking about an announcement with two sixth graders from Burns Middle School, Jeremiah and Hunter, who have actually decided that their calling in this PSA is to do what they can to basically save and protect their generation and future generations to come. Check this out.
Hey, Jeremiah. Hey, Jeremiah, wait up. What you doing?
Nothing, just think about what happened yesterday.
Oh, I heard that shooting was crazy.
Yeah, that's the problem we have. People keep killing each other, and it's like no one even cares. I'm tired of it. I just wish it would stop.
Me too. It seems like every day innocent people are killed just because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sometimes when I walk down the street, I think, am I safe or am I in the wrong place?
Yeah, and the solution is so simple. No gun violence in our community means less deaths.
And more time we get to love our families and spend time with our friends.
What's up, man? Y'all doing all right? Good to see you, bro.
Josh?
Hey, man, y'all boys be good, all right?
All right.
Life is valuable, man, and death is so final. When you pull the trigger, there's no coming back from that. So please, put the guns down, y'all.
So what we just saw were two kids who have taken the initiative. You're talking about collaboration with other agencies. What about the collaboration within the school? I mean, there's a student body who recognizes this. I mean, that's a pretty powerful message when you watch it. And I feel like it's pretty powerful because you're watching kids who recognize that there's an issue. Yeah. What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Those are, and they're reaching their peers. And that, I think to me, that's the most important part. It's it almost it gets me right here to see that they're understanding it. That they're getting it. It's almost sad that they have to.
Right.
Quite frankly, but the important part is they get it. And I think Joshua has done an amazing job in reaching some of these kids and getting them to understand. Just simple message: put the guns down,
right.
and let's stop this echo that we're hearing throughout the city and throughout the county, throughout the nation. And this is not just a Mobile issue. This is a nationwide issue.
And I think a lot of people miss that sometimes. Not that we excuse that or blanket ourselves in that, but it is a nationwide issue that we're dealing with. But we're the gatekeepers, right?
Absolutely.
And now we see young people like those young men who are stepping up, wanting to be the assistant to the gatekeepers.
Sure.
So what do we do with that?
Well, it takes a lot of courage to be a middle school age student, and because there's so many pressures, there's so many things that you're exposed to, and technology is an amazing thing, but I tell you, social media and cell phones and things have really changed the game. It changed for us, and so for these young men to step back and make this message and produce this message and try to reach their peers, I think is huge. And we have to continue to create more young men and young ladies like this, in my opinion. And but it goes a lot deeper than that. Obviously these two, and I don't know anything about the background of these two young men. I'm very, very proud of them. I need to get to know them more. In fact, I may go to Burns Middle School when I leave here today and introduce myself and get to know these guys. But, obviously they, whether it's at home or wherever they're getting their influence, they know the right thing and they understand the right thing. And I think that's what we have to try to continue to encourage through programs and the fit team or whatever the process is that we continue to reach these kids and let them know. There's and I know that Kurt has been involved in a lot of programs that kind of associate the kids with police and get them to understand that the police aren't the bad guy. They're here to help, and there can be a positive in this whole situation. I think those kinds of things are huge. But again, trying to get them the help that they need, jobs. I mean, trying to make sure that they are gainfully employed, so they don't feel like they have to do things that are maybe against the law to survive. And it's just such a big, and I think that's the beauty of this whole thing. It's such a big picture. It's not just here's a bad kid, let's send him home and put him in jail, or whatever. We've got to try to fix this issue.
I think a lot of people don't realize the ecosystem that we have. That everything's connected. You guys are doing one thing. We're tasked with doing something else. And sometimes people forget that law enforcement and education is just not all of it. It's the community as well, right?
Absolutely.
And because our goal is to make sure that we're fostering the right environment through leadership and modeling what leadership looks like so that we can get those young people, those young minds to see what real leadership looks like and to help move forward a healthy and safer community.
So I want to talk for just a minute, and we're going to get to an email question here in just a minute. We do have an email, echostoplive@gmail.com. We would encourage you to send us questions. We'll try to get to some questions during each show. Echostoplive@gmail.com. You can also send some comments, ideas, and things like that, because we want you to come alongside of us in this partnership. But I'm just going to go here for just a second.
Go there,
go
buddy.
with me?
Let's ride.
Let's ride. All right. What we're talking about is pouring life and pouring light into situations and into these kids. That's what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
We're providing services. We're being an influence. You've said several times you can't arrest your way out of it. If we thought we could, we wouldn't have this podcast.
Sure.
There has to be more. And so I'm so glad to hear you say that, because a lot of times people say, law enforcement, police officer, director of safety and security, it's very enforcement minded. But literally the detection piece of Operation Echo Stop is just one of the four corners. There's three other corners that we're really talking about. And I want to go a little bit further, because this is where I want you to ride with me for just a minute.
Okay.
You said the one, and we were talking about the one. But the balance to the one, if you really want to go there, if we're talking about pouring out light and pouring out at life, is the other 99. And I think, and anybody that knows me has probably heard me say this conversation before, because this has been a big part of, especially the season I'm in now, where I believe that if the one student is out there, it's the obligation of those 99 to come find that one as well. But I always say this too: if you're part of the 99 and you see the other one, it's your obligation to return that favor, just as I believe, we too are the one. And so I feel like if we can be rescued from whatever situation we're in, so too can the mechanisms we put in place in our schools and in our community to bring life and to bring that light to the situation. And so this goes hand in hand with what you're really discussing at the moment.
Yeah, I think one of the great things that we're doing here in the city of Mobile is that we're understanding that silo busting has to happen. We've been working for years now to cross disciplines, to cross collaborate, because we understand that we're stronger together, that it does truly take all of us, and that the problem is such a huge problem, but it's a single denominator. It is one single problem that we all have to tackle together and do our different parts, but bring those parts together to solve the problem.
Let's talk about bringing together. So I'm checking here. Our production team has just forwarded me one of the emails we've received today.
Okay.
And this is from Bridget downtown. And she's asking, when kids get in trouble in school, are they getting counseling? And if they are, does that make things better? And so really, as we kind of wind this episode down, I really want to just make this sort of the last question that we kind of discuss. And that is really forward vision. What are we doing when we see these triggers to prevent them from manifesting into huge and larger problems.
This is a great lead-in.
And thank you, Bridget.
Yeah, and absolutely. Thank you, Bridget. This is actually a great lead-in for the program that I just discussed. We've contracted with a company. It's called Navigate 360, and we're actually currently, as we speak, doing training in a behavioral risk threat assessment model, which basically means, again, if these kids show these triggers, if they make comments, or if they show different signs of things. We actually did this at 2 different schools just yesterday. Then there's a protocol that we follow where we interview the student and others involved and try to determine, is this, for instance, if a kid makes a threat, just for an instance, is this a transient threat? Is this something that we need, get some serious intervention for this young person? We have a great relationship with Alta Point and even Bay Point. If it's something that, we have the Alta Point counselors come in, and if they determine they need further assistance, there's the West Mobile Academy that they can attend, where they're not only attending school, but they're getting counseling as well. And of course, if a student on let's just say a less severe basis, we have guidance counselors in the schools that are just incredible, that are well trained as far as assisting students with the typical issues that they face. Being a kid is difficult. We think being an adults is tough sometimes, but especially I always talk about the middle school years when they're trying to decide, are they going to be good, bad, or indifferent, or whatever. And those times when they're developing and things are happening and they're going through things at home, and they may not have the best relationship with mom and dad. Anyway, when we have them for those 8 hours a day, like you said, that one, it's up to us 99 to identify that one and give them the help. Our superintendent, who I can't say enough about, since Mr. Threadgill and the staff that he's brought with him since he's been in our system, he has an analogy, and I'm going to completely mess it up. I always do, but it's basically you put your best swimmers in the deep end. In other words, if you've got you're at a school and you know that this kid is drowning, pardon the pun, you're going to put your best folks and your lifeguards and your best people to help that student. You're not going to put them in the shallow end where everybody's okay. And again, that's very much paraphrasing. He tells it much better than I do. But anyway, we want to make sure that that one, we're the 99 and that one, that we identify that person, young man, young lady, whatever it is, and try to develop the relationship with them where they will let us know what's going on so we can get them that help. That's why I try to tell my guys, and all my guys, and Curtis was a resource officer that we worked closely with at one time, all former law enforcement. So sometimes, sometimes we come in with that law enforcement, I'm not going to say attitude, but Curtis knows what I'm talking about. That we're here to enforce. Sure,
it's a mindset.
We are. Exactly. We're here to enforce. However, it doesn't take long, and I guarantee you, ask any of the folks, young men and young ladies who work for me as a resource officer, what's probably the most valuable lesson you've learned, and it's just to stop and listen and try to figure out. Sure, they're doing things, and we, let's face it, we have kids who do very serious things in our school system that we deal with. But even those kids deserve us to try to figure out, okay, why did you do this? Why did you bring this to school? Or why did you, leave school and do this, or whatever the case is? And then that way, selfishly for us, that helps us when that kid again becomes a part of our student body, so that we can deal with any further issues or hopefully stop anything before it happens, and that's huge.
And I think the fact that you guys are listening, to what's happening, is really the biggest part, and that we're not just going through the motions, we're not just checking boxes, that we're listening. Andy, I cannot thank you enough for sitting with us just for a few minutes. We could continue this, and matter of fact, I'd love to invite you back. To talk some more, even about some of the individual programs that are going on in the school.
Absolutely.
But for this time, while our viewers are with us, I want to remind everybody that we do have a tip line. We talked about it earlier. Talk about listening. We have a way for you to send us information anonymously. I personally am blessed to get to witness an amazing team of people who pour through this information, make sure it gets to the right place. And do something with it. And it is see something, say something, and in this event, it's also do something, because you can be a part of the solution. You can come alongside us as we're coming alongside you, and this is one way to do it. And that number is 844-251-0644, 844-251-0644. You can also email us at the show here with any questions if you want a question read on a future show, or you have some comments. That's echostoplive@gmail.com. Unfortunately, that is the time that we have for this particular podcast, Curtis, so it comes as no surprise to you.
My last words, right?
Yes, you always get the last words.
Yes, I get the last words. My
Part us
last
out on
words,
this one.
simply, Andy, you guys do an incredible job. I think that the school system does not get enough acknowledgement for the hard work that happens inside of those walls. I do want to say publicly that I appreciate the service that you all provide our community, and understanding also that it does take more than just you guys to handle what you handle every day, day in and day out. It takes the entire community. I think we all have a vested interest in the well-being of the education system here, and law enforcement especially.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and I'm going to say we thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And what my good friend Curtis is referring to is truly the fact that it takes all of us. And so we'll see you next Friday at 8:30. Join us again for the Echo Stop Live podcast. Until then, be safe.
Can I have the last words?
Well, those are the last commentary words. We'll see you again next Friday. Thanks for joining in.